Hello, welcome back. This is Kench1913, and we are Let's Playing The Sailor's Dream. In the last episode, we heard all the songs from the woman on the cliff, on the house on the sea, and now in this episode, we're actually going to head over to the Transmission Horologe, and what we're going to do there is listen to the ramblings of the sailor, not the sailor whose dreams were trying to wake up, but the man who used to date the woman who lived on a house by the cliff. Anyway, so what you have to do with this is pretty much every hour, you pretty much have to go to this place and listen to the guy, his transmission. So what I'm going to end up doing is just like before, I'm just going to go out, change the time to whatever 59, and then come in and we'll listen to them all and we'll hear what his story is. So as you can see up there, there's 12 little circles. We have to fill them out. I believe I'm starting at 12. I'm not exactly sure what the best start point is, but whatever. Actually, we're at like, what is it, like 8:57 or something, 7:57. So what I'm going to do, like I said, is I'm just going to change the time, and then we're going to come back and we're going to listen to 12 little ramblings of the sailor. And then hopefully we'll get to discuss it and figure out what's going on. And here we're going to get some backstory about him and the woman, and actually some backstory about the woman and the daughter, or the girl. It's not really the daughter. She's just some girl who ended up at the island, or on the house. Yeah, I'm not exactly, just like with the songs, I'm not exactly sure what the best start point is to get, like, the whole story, like, in chronological order. And the same thing with this. I'm not sure if I can start with 12 or however it goes, but we're getting pretty close. So yeah, and I apologize for the length of this episode, but I just want to get all this in one episode, just so you can kind of like absorb it all and figure it all out. So here we go.
Leaving port for a long journey used to be bittersweet. It was a feeling of nausea. Not because of the waves. It felt like your guts were going in two directions. Seeing her on the dock, that was hard. I couldn't tell whether she was crying or not. I thought it was for the best, though. I didn't think that it was right that she should sit in that cottage and long for me. It wasn't right that I should long for her all those long months at sea. There had been too much longing. She said that she didn't mind me leaving as long as I came back. I didn't. If I cut her loose, she could find another. Someone who could take care of that girl with her. She seemed so happy with that little girl. I thought that it might be enough for her. I was a fool. The sea is beautiful from land. Land is beautiful from the sea.
As you can see, one of the lights light up, and you have yourself a transmission. Now, obviously, he was talking about the woman he used to see, and at the house at the cliff, and just kind of like how what's happening with that, because he would go away, and I guess he didn't. It was the final time he didn't want to come back because he didn't want to make her wait any longer, but that could have been something, man up. That's what I have to say, sailor. Man up. you could have had your cake and eat it too. Sure, you might have gone away on a long adventure or whatever, but when you came back, at least you would know that that lady would always be there for you. Hell, maybe one day you can quit your job. Now here I actually made a mistake. I meant to do one, but I did two instead, so it's going to be a little out of order, but whatever. You know what I mean? Probably should have cut out some of this, but I figured this would be a good time where we can discuss what we just heard.
Her body was never found. A great storm took her. The very same storm that took my arm. They all said she was dead. I don't believe that. I can't believe that. I'd like to think she's out there somewhere. I imagine her someplace warm, but not too warm. I've searched for her all over the world. Would I even recognize her? She'd be old like me now. I don't think she'd be able to recognize me. I wear a beard now. It's damn hard to shave with your left hand.
So yeah, these are transmissions from the sailor, from later on in life, obviously, his regrets almost. And yeah, he's just talking about how the woman, during that great big storm, not only did he lose his arm, which ironically, or not ironically, had her picture on it, and then also, you know, she disappeared that night too. Yeah, it was a pretty nasty storm, apparently. But, yeah. So, it's a good idea. I don't know, I just like doing this, once again, so we have a moment or two to discuss what we just heard. Or at least, you know, absorb what we're hearing. But, yeah. Feel bad for this sailor guy, because it's like, man, you made a couple of bad decisions. And this is what happens. You lose the lady that you probably loved. And, you know, that nice environment you had and all that good stuff. Alright, so let's hear more about the goings-on or the ramblings of this old sailor.
She wasn't always lonely. There was a little girl who stayed with her during the summers. I can't recall why she took the girl in at first. Out of kindness, I suppose. Where their child's parents were, God only knows. She'd light up whenever the girl was there. They would imagine things together. It was a strange game they played. They created the most wonderful and strange islands in their minds. I think she wanted to keep the girl, but for some reason it wasn't allowed. The rest of the year that girl lived in some sort of institution. We never talked about it much. I got the sense that they weren't treating her right. The place was torn down a couple of years ago. Good riddance.
Alright, so it seems like the little girl came from an institute. Could have been some sort of asylum or whatever. Might uncover why, you know, during that little dialogue that they had during the star-crossed map or whatever it was. It could have explained that, I guess. You know, maybe the doctor was talking to the little girl, and somehow the little girl either escaped or whatever and came to the house every summer or something like that. See, I have a theory I'm going to discuss at the end of the game, but you know, we'll have to wait. So it's interesting. So now we kind of know the origins of the little girl and how she. We don't really know how she got there. She must have escaped whatever institute she was from, to be able to hang out with the lady at the cliffs, the little house by the cliff. And then eventually they met a sailor, and he came home, and he was cool with them and all that.
I like the nights alone on the bridge. Just me and the ocean. And the memories. Tonight, my mind drifted to the little girl. I never saw that child again. Perhaps I should have visited her. But I couldn't. I was so angry and so bitter back then. Those were dark years. Hard to remember even now. I try to think of the good times. Perhaps they will come again.
So it's interesting, you know, I wonder why, well actually they'll explain it a little later, but I wonder why the sailor was angry at the little girl. And, you know, what happened there with that situation. Everything seems to come to like a point, or like a pinnacle, you know, like a climax at this storm that happened with the fire at the island on the cliff. You know, with the little house on the cliff. And actually, now I'm putting more things together as I'm listening to it and thinking about it more. And I'll explain it next time we get a free moment. But yeah, it's really good to hear, kind of like, well, I guess hindsight's 20/20 kind of thing. But at least the guy's kind of like looking back at his life and been like, man, I should have done this instead. It's probably, I like to call this part the sailor's regrets. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's hear the next one.
I saw the northern lights yesterday. Amazing as they are, I've seen even stranger things. I've seen animals that will never be seen again. I've seen waves that could drown the world. I've seen the ghost of a murdered friend drink to my health. I've seen a ship without a crew steer itself across the ocean. I've seen a whale cry. I've seen much. I can picture all of it if I close my eyes. But not her face. No. That's been lost to me. I try to picture it, but it drifts away. Maybe it's for the best. Maybe it's for the best.
So, it sounds like the sailor is talking about some of the, obviously he's talking about things that he's seen, of course, but just pretty much, I don't know, things that he's seen and how he wishes he could remember the lady's face, but he can't because, I mean, shit, he lost his arm. I lost my arm in battle. And, yeah, so he still longs for that woman, which is kind of a shame. I mean, hell, what ended up happening was, as we found out, was he lost his arm during a storm where a crate landed on his arm, pretty much taking it out. And the lady was throwing a bottle into the ocean just right before the storm started. And then I don't know where the little kid it was, but we'll find out, I think.
The snow falls heavy tonight. It's comforting to see the lighthouse in the distance. I pass it from time to time. I know the lighthouse keeper. We speak on the radio sometimes. We've not met in person, but we understand each other. I think he's old like me, and I suppose a bit lonely, like me. He envies me, he says. Wished he had seen more places when he was younger. That's a regret we don't share. I don't think he envies me tonight. Not in this weather. But I'm glad to see his light, and I'm glad for the coffee that keeps me warm. Little things, true. But what else is there?
Yeah, that one kind of is a little redundant. I mean, you can kind of tell that the sailor guy is kind of lonely. You know, rambling about the past events and the regrets that he had, and trying to remember ladies and the good times and all that. So it's kind of odd to hear him talk about that, but at least you get to hear that he yaps with other people, I guess. But yeah, so it just sounds weird. But so like I said, what I like to do, or what I've been doing, is just pretty much going into my iPad settings, changing it to whatever 59, coming back in. You don't even have to exit the game, which is a nice thing. And you can get all this good stuff. But yeah, the voice acting for this guy has been really, really good. It's just a shame that there's no subtitles. You know what I mean? That's one little gripe that I have about this game. Is I wish they had subtitles. Just on the very bottom. So in case like someone is calling your name or whatever, you can look away and still be able to read or whatever.
This music coming from ashore. It's vaguely familiar. I imagine people dancing. I imagine people in love. It's quite the beautiful scene I've painted in my head. There is a strange, mystical power in music. She understood that. I've never been very musical, but I could dance well enough. Now I just listen. I stayed behind tonight. I can hear the music from here. I like the way it travels across the water. I rarely leave the ship these days. Someone might call me on the radio.
Man, you can kind of hear the sadness in his voice at the end there. When he's like, I rarely leave the ship these days. It's like his life almost stopped after that whole incident. And he lost that woman. But yeah, that was a good one. You could, it's nice you can actually kind of hear the music in the background very nicely. But, yeah, and he was even humming the Sailor's Dream theme, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it's interesting, like, just regrets and everything. But yeah, the voice actor for this did a really good job, like, shit. Good stuff. So once again, you're kind of hearing how like, you know, pretty much emphasizing the songs and him, and it kind of like intertwines them. Like he knew the girl knew the power of songs. That's why she put them in bottles, and they were dancing together. This, that, and the other. Good stuff.
Starry sky tonight. I bet I'll dream of her. It's strange. She seems to visit my dreams only when the stars are shining bright. The first few years after she vanished, there were only nightmares. A hand stretched out of the ocean. Those dreams seldom visit me now. Now I dream of her cottage. She sits by the fireside. There's music in the air. I walk slowly towards her, and she turns her head to me. But before I can see her face, the dream ends. My heart still aches after all these years. I've never loved another.
Finally, confessing that he did love that woman. You know, it's just a shame. You know, I mean, it sounds like he told her you should try to find someone else, and then she's like, "Yeah, no, I love you, blah blah blah. I curse you." She throws the thing, and then there's a storm, and then there you go, boom. But the little girl will come into play pretty soon. Just remember that she has something. She's at this institute. They treat her badly, and she eventually, after a certain predicament, she eventually is in some area. I'll explain it when we get there, but it is coming up soon. Very, very soon, for sure. But yeah, so this poor sailor is heartbroken. He's lonely. He's full of regret. Somehow, you know, he's an empathetic character. I totally empathize. Let's do it. 2, 1.
The cottage is long gone. Burned to the ground. They said the little girl did it. I'm not sure why, though. Maybe she thought she could burn away the memories. I wonder where the memories inside of that house disappeared to when it burnt down. Maybe there's a new cottage there now. It makes no difference, I suppose.
So, that would actually explain a couple of things. So, apparently, from what the villagers must have thought, the little girl burned down the house. Now, there could be reasons why that we might find out. I'm not 100% sure. But, I'm thinking it's because she did not want to go back to the institute. So she burned the house down or whatever. Then, apparently, what ended up happening was, as we were reading the stories, last episode or 2 episodes ago, pretty much she got caught and she was with a guard, if you remember. Some guard was talking to her and he was saying how he had a little boat called Lily Christine. And so what ended up happening was the little girl eventually escaped wherever the hell she was at, let's say the jail, and she must have gotten on that. And then what ended up happening to her, apparently, is she fell asleep. And that's what we're going to figure out, is how to wake her by collecting all these memories from the sailor, to the woman, to the area, to all the different areas around and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's kind of starting to make sense to me a little bit.
I never visited her grave. There's no point to it. She's not in it. Not sure there would be a point even if she was. They decided to bury an empty coffin. so that they could get on with their lives. I don't blame them. I used to, though. There's no point in that either. I wish to be buried at sea when my day comes. It seems appropriate.
Yeah. So yeah, like we were saying before, they never really did find the body of the woman, so they just filled it with an empty coffin, buried her on the island. And the little girl supposedly was at the funeral or whatever, probably still chained up with the guard or whatever. I'm not sure. So there's probably some reasoning why the little girl would light the house on fire. And of course, when the sailor guy was talking about where do the memories go, they went to these different islands, the different lands. So that's kind of neat. And also, he was talking about how like the little girl and the woman would make up stories about different places, and that might actually be something to think about later. Now, of course, this is all speculation. Obviously, if you have your own theory, please leave it in the comments, and we can discuss it. Because this game is open to interpretation.
I played a few hands with the boys earlier, but my heart wasn't in it. I wanted to get back to the radio. I rarely stay too long on any one frequency. I turn the dial, listen to radio crackle, hoping that I'll pick up a signal. A signal from far away. Something that'll matter to me. Not sure what I'm looking for.
Yeah, at least he sort of sounds like he's getting some buddies. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, so he pretty much stayed on the radio. I don't know, maybe he was hoping to hear from the woman, or hell, even the little girl. And as you can tell, what he said before about how he was angry and he didn't want to visit the little girl was because, you know, he was probably angry because he's like, you burnt down the house, you killed my love, kind of thing. Could be that could be the case. But the thing is, if they never found the body, that's something. Maybe he thought that there was no remains after the house burnt down or something. I'm not 100% sure. Again, open to interpretation. But that's why I really like this game too, and I'm glad to actually showcase it to other people so that we can discuss it and try to delve into what we think might have happened. It's kind of like a interesting puzzle if you think about it that way. All the pieces put together hopefully make one story, or a version of a story.
Here, boy. Come here. Come here. Come here. Look, come here. Be that way. There's an old Jack Russell Terrier on board that we call Gus, but he doesn't answer to that name. It's unclear to whom he belongs. Gus has been on this ship longer than any of us. He likes to sleep on my feet. I don't mind. It keeps him from getting cold. I'll tell him about another dog I once knew. Gus wags his tail. I'll tell him about the little girl that loved that dog. He yawns, then sneezes all over my trousers. I'll tell him of all the strange, wondrous things I've seen. Gus chews his tail. tell him about the woman I left ashore. Gus limps over to me and puts his head in my lap. Good boy, Gus. Yeah, lie down. Lie down there. Good boy. Sleep well, Gus. Sleep well.
Yeah, Gus totally feels his pain. Alright, the stories from the past have now all been told. And the time has come for the sailor to step ashore. Not this sailor, but the little girl. Not this sailor. The sailor has been... Well, maybe. I mean, it depends. It really all depends. But yeah, so... we pretty much unlocked everything. And in the next episode will actually be the finale of Let's Play The Sailor's Dream, where I'll give you my theory, we'll see the end and see what actually happens. So, this has been Kenshin 1913, and I will see you in the finale. Bye-bye.